Hi guys! Today we are going to make a traditional Italian pizza. Now I'm going to use plain white flour for this, but if you are allergic to gluten, you can simply replace this ingredient with gluten-free flour. So let's start by brewing our yeast. So we need 2.5 cups of warm water. Just make sure that the water is not too hot, not boiling hot, otherwise that will kill your yeast. So the best way to test the temperature of the water is by sticking our finger into the water, and if you can hold it in, it's lukewarm, it's warm enough, but it's not hot. So you can hold your finger in comfortably in the water for at least 20 seconds. So this is a good temperature for the yeast. So the temperature of our water is perfect. So I'm going to sprinkle the yeast into the warm water along with the sugar. Now we're just going to cover this and now let it sit for 10 minutes. So by now you know that I'm not a fan of sugar at all, but we need sugar in this recipe because sugar acts as a nutrition for yeast. So basically the yeast is going to consume the sugar and produce CO2, and we very much need this in our pizza crust in order to make our dough rise. Okay, so once the 10 minutes or so is over and your yeast is nice and bubbly, you can put all the ingredients in a big bowl. Now, if you have a mixer that comes with a dough hook, then to make your life easier and to make the process very simple, you can just put everything into the bowl and turn the machine on to create the dough. If you don't have a machine, don't worry, you can just put everything into a big bowl, and using a spoon you can mix everything together and then create the dough. So we are going to put our flour into the bowl first and salt. Okay, give this a little mix. And then we are going to create a well into the middle of the bowl. And then this is where we are going to pour the olive oil and the yeast mixture. Okay, and then we are just going to use the mixer to create our dough. Okay, so that only should take you a few minutes if you're working with the machine. Make sure that you don't overmix your dough, okay? And once you're done, what we're gonna do is have a clean surface, put a little bit of flour on it, and we're gonna turn our dough onto this surface to work it a little bit. So your dough should be light and fluffy. You can put some flour onto your fingertips to avoid the dough sticking to your fingers. So you're going to form a ball. So you can see that the dough is nice and light, it's bouncy. Okay, it shouldn't be too thick or rigid. Now that we shaped our dough into a ball, we're going to grab a plain bowl and just grease it with olive oil. But you don't need too much, just use one of these silicone brushes, dip it into the oil and just brush side of the bowl with the oil. And then we are going to place our dough into this bowl and then just shake it a little bit so the oil gets onto each side of the bowl. Okay, so we are going to place a plastic wrap on the top of the bowl, and we're going to rest our pizza dough for at least an hour. Okay, so if you're making this pizza, just make sure you make it well in advance because you need to take into consideration the resting time. So once your dough is ready, all you need to do is put it onto a clean surface, which is slightly floured. So we are going to make 2 pizzas. So you just divide your dough into 2 bowls. And using the rolling pin, you can just flatten your pizza. Now, if you like a thick pizza dough, then you can just make like a smaller pizza and leave the dough for about like 1/2 centimeter thick. But if you like thin, crispy pizza dough, then just make it as flat as you wish. I personally prefer thin pizza, so I'm going to make my pizza dough flat. If you want to do like a traditional pizza style, instead of the flour, you can also use semolina, which would make the pizza a little bit more crusty. So once you achieve the thickness or thinness as per your preferences, then you can use a pizza tray. I already greased my pizza pan using some olive oil. And now I'm going to, just using my hands, pressing the dough into this pan. And now we are ready to put the topping on it. So this is gonna be very simple, very quick. We're using tomato sauce. Okay, and just quickly spread it with the back of the spoon, leaving about like half a centimeter from the edges. And we are gonna top it with mozzarella cheese. Okay, our pizza is ready to go into the oven. I already preheated my oven to 200 Celsius. We are gonna bake our pizza for about 10-15 minutes. Just make sure you keep an eye on it, not to burn it. So once your pizza is ready, it's ready to test it. So let's see. And to make our pizza even more delicious, I'm going to use a couple of basil leaves. I'm gonna put on the top. Now I'm going to wash this first. So let's test. That's absolutely gorgeous. Happy cooking!